Welcome to the Hooch, where the only place more messed up than your hosts is the barracks on a Friday night or the VA. So get ready to stand by for your weekly dose of toilet humor and shenanigans from your fellow veterans, Coy Mack and Michael Grizzled Grunt Harris.
Hey, welcome back to the Hooch, everybody. Got a Coy Mack here, Michael Harris, as always. And then we have a special guest from Speak for Change podcast, Thomas Pedersen. He's going to be our lefty black guy for now on. Because you gotta get the right one and the left one. So I have the...
Oh shit! Here we go. Here we go.
But yeah, so if you guys didn't know, we had an episode last week that we were going to put out, but due to technical difficulties, we were not able to. I apologize to our guest, Liam Montalvo, for that as well. I appreciate you. You're a great person. It was a great episode, and it's lost to history. This is only the second time in the history of the Hooch in 3 years that this has ever happened, so it doesn't happen very often. Anyway. Michael, you also got the Warhammer in recently. Would you like to show that off?
Yes. So the Hooch Warhammer is in. It says right there on the Hooch. It says COVID-19 on the back, 1776. And freedom never dies. So yeah, if you want to get it at Blackguard Customs. So
yeah. Love Blackguard Customs. They are great friends of ours. Did a bunch of videos for them back in the day. So definitely check them out. Anyway, Thomas, thanks for coming on as well. So explain to our audience who you are and what you do so they can get a better understanding.
All right, I'm Thomas Pedersen. So I live in Santa Cruz, California. So yeah, whatever you guys think of California. But yeah, I own a business here. I own a music school. We have employees, it's a great school. I run the, like Coy lovely said, Speak for Change podcast, which is a new podcast. It's all about the kind of like understanding the balance between self-development, self-help, all that stuff, and politics and activism and stuff like that. So that's kind of the topics we like to explore there.
And that's great because I mean I know a lot of it, especially right now. That's basically all anything is now is politics. But that's right. Our cup of tea. We like discussing politics, and that's what we're gonna dive in today. Because like what I wanted to bring you on here specifically for was to talk about the difference. To kind of break the monolith of what the black community is, because you have Michael, who is the complete opposite of you. You guys are like night and day, comparatively speaking, in terms of politics. But I know there are still things that we can find a common value into, and that's what I really wanted to kind of bring on today. So, first question for both of you. What is it mean to be black? What is blackness to you? And so, like, we already know Michael's. We hear that all the time of his opinion. So I'm going to start it off with Thomas. What does it mean to be black?
I would actually like to hear Michael's because I haven't been listening to him.
Okay.
There's a lot. So, but yeah, I will respond promptly. But yeah, I would love to hear Michael's version of blackness, and it's a very complicated topic. So yeah.
So being black is not a monolith, for one, because black comes in many shades, many forms, many viewpoints and everything. So black is the way black people are taught is black is this. You have to be this. You have to be a militant, or you have to be pro-black, or you have to be pro this, or you have to be pro that. But I don't see black as that. I see black as nothing more than a skin color, and you can be as black as you want to be, and any way, shape, or form you want to promote your blackness in. It can be conservative, it can be liberal, it can be gay, it can be whatever. It's just, I'm tired of this bubble of blackness. So I really don't have an answer for what blackness is, honestly. But blackness to me is just being what God wanted us to be. So
okay.
Man, that is beautiful. I love that description. I'm going to respond now.
Yeah. Go for it. That's why we have you on here for.
So, yeah, I mean, so in general, right, race. right? Race is a concept that has been created, right, to kind of give hierarchy to, I would say, like, one race is better than the other. I think it was kind of created out of self-interest. You could find more of this on like reading like How to Be an Anti-Racist, which is a book, which kind of teaches you, shows you how kind of race was invented. So when I think of blackness, I just think of it as, like Mike said over here, as a skin color, but also I was raised in a white family. So you have to understand, I have like a certain level of privilege to that. And I'm lighter skinned. I'm half white, half black. Right. So, I don't get as much prejudice as most people who are like straight up 100% black, but I still have experienced prejudice because I was raised in a very conservative town. By all standards, I should be conservative. By all standards, I was raised by a father who is obsessed with the Confederacy. I was raised by a grandfather who also had Confederate things like that, and so blackness is something that I think in a political, or not political, but social standpoint, is something that is, in the United States of America, kind of a cultural construct. I mean, you can be whatever you want within blackness, right? You can be creative, you can be expressive, you can be conservative, liberal. But the reality is that everyone who has brown skin color automatically is viewed not by individuals, but by the system we are a part of as lower than. It's not the default to be a white person, It's not, you know what I mean? That's just the truth though, right? The default is a white man. At the end of the day.
Okay.
I'll let Michael go ahead. You can go for your response to that. It's like I know you're racing.
I've been I'm mixed race student. So, as a black man, mixed race guy, Mexican and black guy, I've never once been taught from my black grandparents that raised me.
Yeah.
They never taught me. They're boomers, dude. They were born in the 1930s.
Yeah.
And they never once taught me to say, this race has more privilege than you. You know what I mean? So I just don't buy into the shit. So pretty much as a black man, I should as my son as a young mulatto mixed baby black kid, I should teach my son, hey son, white people have privilege over you. Just understand that, and that you are less than them. That's what I'm teaching my son. I refuse to do that shit. I refuse to do that. I refuse. I'm not do it.
All right. No, I get you, man. So I think that's a big thing that comes up with conversations about this, is that I think a lot of people are saying that there's like a victim mentality, right? A mentality that, oh, poor me, I can't do anything, right? But like, just because I dealt with racism still means I go out and start my own business. It doesn't mean that it will stop me from doing that, right? But the reality is that you do have to teach your child that there may be people out there, right, that maybe have racist views. I mean, that's something that is truth. And that our system currently sometimes does look at people of color as being kind of threatening, sometimes. Because, I mean, you could see it in our police system where, and, let me elaborate on that, where, two people are charged with the same crime, but the person of color kind of gets more of a crime because they didn't have the representation as they had. They weren't born into that kind of privilege, and maybe people don't view them as someone with the benefit of the doubt. Because I mean, racism is true in our system because we came here from slavery, right? It was only 53 years ago that interracial marriage was legal. You know what I mean? 52 years ago. That's not that long. You know what I mean? To make that legal. And so that's all I'm saying is that, I don't like it when people tell me that, you are a victim because you're the color of your skin, right? That to me is a trigger warning to me. I'm like, that's not what we're trying to say, or that's not what I'm trying to say. Right. I'm trying to say that there's some things in our culture that we need to address to make sure that we are being anti-racist, against racism in this country. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think there's things in our system that are still kind of echoes from our past, that are
Right.
still in our system and our society that we need to address, that are still racist, pure and simple. They still are coming from the ideology that the white race is better than the black race, and that needs to change.
And I can agree with that with certain things. This is what I'm going to put out here.
All right.
Is I think that ideology when it comes to the left is coming from white liberals the most. And like, I know people want to blame the right for this, as like there being these identitarian, like whitey, like we're the white power thing. It's like, no, I think that the white liberals are the worst when it comes to this, because they do view the minority community as being less than, and in an obtuse way. They don't even know they're doing it. And that's the problem, is like they see themselves as like, I'm in a better position because I'm better to help them.
Yes.
And I think that's the wrong way to look about it. It's an awful way to look about it.
Yep. You're 100% correct.
Can I respond to that a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so because I live in Santa Cruz, California, so you're talking about white liberals. I am surrounded by white liberals, right?
Right.
And I agree, there's a savior complex in this world, and racism is actually shown on that side a little bit more subtly, and it's shown in a way that is true. I mean, I agree with what you said. You know what I mean? To be honest with you,
Right.
it's something that needs to be addressed, and that's the whole point. I'm not trying to make this a political issue, and that's kind of where I come in. I don't really care if you're right or left. I do still think the facts is that there's racism in this country, you know, and I still think we need to conquer that. I think we need to finally address the root of those issues and really figure that out.
And see, okay, go ahead, Michael, before I...
So let me ask you something. So how do we get rid of racism?
That's actually I was going to go with that, and
so how do we? Racism has been here for centuries. This isn't an American thing. This is
right.
a world issue.
Yeah.
So how do we stop racism? How do we get rid of it?
So stopping racism. Okay, so for one of the things that I like to share is that all these issues are messy, right? This is not a clean cut issue. There's nuance, there's complexity, and that's reality. You know, so people who come with you with like a simple answer, like this will fix this problem, they're usually lying to you. You know what I mean? They're usually lying to you. So
most definitely.
How to conquer racism is first just be aware of it, man. You know, just educate yourself about it. And I'm a firm believer that through like understanding and being aware as an individual, we will that will transform the mind and seeing opportunities, right? You see that when you are working in your life, right? You know, when you decide to take on your life and be like, I'm going to do something with my life, right? I'm going to be aware of the opportunities in my life. Guess what? You start to see opportunities everywhere. You see it when you have like a new car, right? Let's say you get a Ford truck, right? Next thing you know, you see Ford trucks everywhere. You know, you're like, I didn't know there's 4 trucks over there. I didn't know there's 4 trucks over there, you know? And so and so when it comes to racism, I just think it's a global movement right now, and I don't believe that it's some sneaky thing pushed by the left. I think the left has definitely benefited from it, and I think the left are opportunists. So I'm not going to get into that.
Right, but we can agree with that one.
But I think that at the same time, this is a real issue, and there's truth in it, and I think we need to listen. And I think we need to understand and learn, and maybe we have different opinions, which I think is how, as humans, we understand reality, right? We share different opinions. We have these conversations that have somewhat of tension, right? So that we can see the truth. No one's right in their own, right?
Yeah.
Diversity
of thought and opinion. That's what we need.
I can feel that. I feel you on that.
Yeah.
So if I was to tell you, as a black man living in this country, that I've never had anything racial happen to me, what would you say?
I would be like, I would be awesome and amazing, but I also would recognize if you did read some literature about the subject, about like what racism is, because sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's there and we don't realize it. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that
we used to make black jokes in the military all the time, so I'm sure he's had the exposure of jokes. There's a difference, though. There is a difference.
There is a huge difference.
Yeah.
So I would say like straight up die-hard racism, to where my heart, my soul, I felt
like a dude in a Klan outfit just ran down the street going, no,
N-bomb you and you freaking end this and end that. I freaking hate you. I've never had that happen to me.
I mean, that is amazing. I mean, even me living in California have had that, and I haven't. and I haven't been
born and raised in California, so.
Oh,
Yeah, you both are from California. I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But basically, my point is that is amazing, and I am happy that hasn't happened to you, right? But like, just like we're dealing with every day, just because it hasn't happened to you, it doesn't mean it hasn't happened to a lot of other people of color. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, having respect and listening to people who are sharing, because I think automatically my mind goes, because I was raised conservative. You have to understand, I was raised conservative. Yeah. So my mind goes, when I hear those things, automatically it goes with, stop complaining. Stop, like maybe you're over exaggerating the truth here. You know what I mean? That's where mind automatically goes. And that's not a bad thing. But also we have to remember that sometimes we do have to listen, because certain groups of people we have been trained to see as being like kind of not as good as like another demographic of people. We see a nice dressed white man, and then we see a black man dressed with baggy pants, speaking in slang, saying like, no, man, I didn't do it. We don't want to believe. That's harder to believe based on our system and our society. I mean, I don't like to say that, but that's the reality, because we haven't done enough understanding of that culture. We haven't really understand the exact lineage from slavery, redlining to the modern day.
Okay. And then let me ask you this question. I'm sorry, Coy.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let me ask you this question. Is it the society's fault, or do you think it's the media and what they're portraying black people to be like's fault?
And I understand. I think, like I said before, this answer is nuanced, and I'm sorry I can't give you a simple answer to that. But I think a combination is a society that values media like that, and so I think you can't really separate those two, because guess what? People like nice headlines. I got in an argument with someone the other day that was like, what was it? In Oregon, black people now can sue people who call cops, have.
I saw that. I saw that article. Yeah.
So I saw that headline, right? And someone complained like, this is why America is being divided because of this headline. Because the truth is, in that bill, it's like, it's not black people, it's racial, right? So it's like you can't call someone for racial things, right? And so I told him that I think the main reason why people are divided is that they're not willing to really dive deep and understand. We like fast and quick answers. We like fast and quick as a society. So we have to really do some digging in our society and our systems. We need to be passing policies that promote like actual and education, right? All these things that we need to do to promote not just mindfulness, but understanding and awareness of different cultures, and not being colorblind, but understanding different cultures. Really,
and that's the thing that makes me the most upset with white like liberals. It's like, I'm colorblind. I don't see race. I don't see race at all.
So pisses me off. That stuff pisses me off. Like, how can you not see I'm brown?
Right? It's like, do you not see me? Like John Cena over here.
You don't see me. But you don't see me. But I'm here.
And this is what I was going to bring up earlier with this, is that the only way to combat racism, and this is coming from my personal opinion, I'm a very like kind of left-leaning, righty, conservative type of person. I mean, I'm more left than Michael is, and that surprises people. Like, he voted for Donald Trump and I didn't. Like, when you look at us, you do not assume that dynamic at all, but it's true. And yeah, he's not. But
I watched the Hodge twins.
Yeah,
I love the Hodge twins.
Great dudes, man. Like, I love their stuff. They're hilarious. And
niggas.
But I think racism for me, I've wrote about this before, is that it's a multicultural thing. Racism is not something that's uniquely white, and that's the thing that makes me upset, is that racism belongs to a human trait, and unless we recognize it as a human trait, like in the US, yes, it's a white issue, but in other countries, it's not a white issue. It's a majority privilege issue, and that's the difference between white privilege and majority privilege. It's like, I do not think white privilege in itself is a thing. It's the majority privilege, right? And we've talked about this before.
I just see Coy like trying to comfort Michael over there.
I know. Like, let me finish, Michael. Like, it's a multicultural issue. If you go to like places like China, for instance, they are institutionally using blackness as a way to lock them up. They did it before in the COVID cases. They were locking Africans up because they were blaming them for new instances of COVID, right? And they're the same thing they're doing with the Muslim population, the Uyghur Muslims, and they're locking them up as well. So it's not just in the United States that you face racism. Racism is a global phenomenon from multiple cultures, and unless we recognize that, we can't fix it. And that's coming from my personal opinion.
Michael, do you want to respond to that, or I could respond to that?
First off, the whole word racism is a farce to me.
I know. It seems like a trigger word for you.
Yeah, it's a trigger word.
It does. It really does.
You know, the word racism was created in 1957 by some fucking Russian guy that it was used to it was thrown out there to freaking shame people who didn't believe in the Communist Manifesto, whatever. But for one, is the minute Americans start looking at each other as a human race, I think like we are all equal. We all bleed the same. We all look the same. We all pee the same. We all shit the same. We all do everything the same, dude. Like we do a lot of shit. Everything we do, 99% of the shit we do is the same. Only thing that separates us is that cultural difference, that 1% of I like this. You listen to country. You listen to hip hop. That's the one thing that separates us. There's nothing else. Yeah. We all have babies the same. Everything's the same, man.
Right.
Yeah. Everything is 100% the same. So this whole term racism, what are you trying to say? Like black people are a different being from you? No, we're not.
I think that is another problem I see a lot that I want to speak to as well. I will try my best not to use the word racism, but it's hard to explain it. But here, I'll do my best, right? Mm-hmm. And so, what I want to really kind of understand here is that I believe we're all human, right? One race, the human race, right? Straight up, right? I'm just going to get that out of the way. One race, the human race. We're just one race here. The problem is that through slavery, okay? I know I'm bringing up slavery. Mm-hmm. And then when we became free, there was segregation. Then when segregation ended, there was redlining, right? And then there's been policies passed that have isolated race. Yeah, has isolated black people, right? And so you see, a lot of people bring up black on black violence, all this stuff like, oh, maybe they deserved it, all these things that I disagree with, because I think if you look at the historic picture of it, black people have been pushed to a situation that is unsustainable and dysfunctional. Not all black people, like me and you, were raised in probably a good situation. And we had good mentors, we had good leadership roles, possibly, but a lot of people of color do not have that. You know what I mean? Right. They do not have that, right? And so I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to force you to. I'm just trying to explain another perspective of the situation. And that I think they can live at the same time, like this sense of like. I got
to add something here with that is when it comes to like white people and white privilege and stuff like that, it's really hard to convince people of white privilege, especially people like me that grew up in the backwoods of Arkansas who grew up poor, that white privilege is a thing. It's like, how do you communicate across to somebody that doesn't see that? I was like, Will Smith's kids are going to be much better off than my kids, right? Like there's a class difference there, but that's the only thing is there are class differences that we can address instead of a race difference, and that's something that Michael and I agree with.
I hear that, and that's truth. That's straight up truth. The problem is that someone who is also raised in your exact same situation, who is a person of color, I would argue, would not be treated the same when in a court of law or by a police officer. Yeah, so like someone who is in your exact same position, the color of your skin dictates that. I mean. Unconsciously,
I think it's also changing, and like this is my personal opinion. I think, like I said last time when on the podcast we didn't actually get to release, was that we're a generation behind everything, right? So like in the next 2 generations or even the next generation, none of this is going to be an issue. right? Because like we have all of these older judges, and we have all these older people that were in the civil rights movement, or they were they weren't, or they're on the other side of that are still in positions of power. Now, if we're talking about needing a power shift, then that's a solution there. Let's just vote all these people out that are still clinging on since Reagan. Like, get rid of them.
I can get behind that. So I think the common ground here, I really believe, is that class. So like, being in a financial situation, right?
Number one.
And then like, waiting for all these politicians to die out.
Right. It's I know it's a sad thing to say, but it's true. It's true.
Exactly.
But
hey, I'm down with that.
Straight up, and like kind of having more representative government, right? Having more of a government that represents the people, right? And I mean, we don't have to get into politics. I mean, that's not really my intent here. But I like politics, so
it totally is our intent. I'm sorry.
No. Bring it on.
We're politics guys. So.
Me too. I talk about this stuff all the time. But to me, it's hard when you're bringing in like implicit bias and like different situations where race is definitely an issue, plus politics, because I just see problems on both sides of that aisle. And so it's like, I don't see it as a red or blue issue. I see it's manifested in those realms. Yeah. But I don't see it as that kind of, it's definitely a human issue of dealing with understanding how race is. This has never happened. We would be innovating a new way of perceiving each other. It'd be a social innovation, seeing without understanding cultures and really diving deep and understanding things. This would be something amazing, global,
right. And this is what makes me mad about the white liberals when they're always like equality and diversity. Is like, dude, no, like this is what true equality to me is. Okay, you're black, so fucking what? That's equality. Like, I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're this. You want a fucking cookie because you are? Like, come on. Like, that's true form of equality, is when nobody cares anymore. Like, that's where we need to get. But that's not what they're doing, as they're trying to segregate everybody into these little tiny groups of like, well, you're black and you're gay and you're black, and then you're a woman, and then you're not a woman. Then you claim to be a woman, then you're not a woman, and here's this person, and now you're that person. It's like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Nobody needs that. We don't need that identitarian nonsense.
I mean, I get where you're coming from for sure. And I think also this is a messy situation. This is not a simple, because it's a reality, right? This is a reality that we have to face. It's not necessarily something that is like, obviously the left has kind of positioned itself to be like, we're for this and this, even though their past has not reflected that, right? You know what I mean? So even though they have not done, like, Biden is there, like, who's supported a bunch of
the crime bill, and you ain't black if you don't vote for me, guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to talk about Biden right now, man. No. But
I know.
But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that racism, and I know Michael over here does not like that word, but it's something that is implicit and unconscious, and I know that sounds messy, and I'm not trying to make it sound vague and unattainable. What I'm saying is that it is something that is a reality here, and that I think just having the awareness, just shifting your brain to actually view something, if you are being a racist, and I mean, and that word is politically charged now. But if you look at the definition, it's just like where you think.
Well, they changed the definitions, by the way. If you didn't know, they changed it already.
Goodness God! But just have a society dedicated to facing this issue that we have created, race. We have agreed to this social contract of race, and now we have to figure out how to get out of it. Yeah, and I don't think being colorblind and being like, we're all equal. There's nothing in your past that dictates where you are now. No, how can we ignore slavery, like segregation, redlining, people forced into a situation where they can't get out? Like, literally, grandmothers are still raised in like situations where their parents were whipped by slavery. It's not that long ago. This is not that long ago. And so I think just being aware of those things can help us figure out what to do. And that's where we can have political debates about policy and stuff like that.
So how long should we be aware?
How long should we be aware? Yeah. So what can you kind of elaborate more on that question?
All right, so we've been talking about this shit. I'm 44 years old. So this shit has been going on since I was in high school.
Yeah.
So 20 something 20-something years.
Mhm.
So how long should we be aware about slavery? How long? How many more years?
So not
Before we just-
about slavery, but about the direct correlation from slavery to this present moment. So I recommend, So being
Okay. So how long should we be aware about slavery in this present moment?
Yeah, no problem. So I think we should be aware until we start to see real policy changes and we see actual cultural changes where Black people's numbers, their percentages are more equal to white people in this country. So we see less of that. So when we see that, I think we know we're creating an equal society.
All right. So once that happens, then what?
Okay. So once that happens,
Like,
no. I understand. I
we're
understand.
there, and then
So-
what?
So, like I said before, we've never been there.
Mhm.
How am I supposed to know what it's supposed to look like? You know what I mean? But,
I'm just saying.
But like, okay,
So
so
what's
when America was founded, we didn't know what America was going to look like. We didn't know what it was. When the founders wrote the Constitution, we did not know what this country. It was an experiment.
It's still an experiment. Yeah.
It's still an experiment. So what I'm proposing is an experiment. It's in the American tradition of experimenting, of innovating. It's in the vein of understanding now, not just technological innovation, but social innovation. Understanding that we may have to accept this and we have to trust, we have to have faith that we can find a way out of it. And I don't think ignoring the issue is going to find a way out of it. I think if we take accountability and actually understand the issues at hand, and actually deal with it, we will find a way out of it. So it's really coming down to faith, man.
Faith in it. Well, I think this is a good point. We can take a small break for a moment. And then come back, and I really want to dive more into how to fix things. Like, I know we talk about problems a lot. That's most what everything is today, is talking about problems. Let's talk about solutions. Like, let's have fun with that. Anyway, we'll be back in a second, guys. We'll see you on the inside. Be sure to check out the Facebook page at the Hooch Podcast to follow along with new releases every week, as well as check out our Teespring store, where we have awesome apparel, as well as the Hooch Podcast on Anchor FM. You can check it out here, or you can go on Spotify and iTunes, as well as Google Play. Anyway, we'll be back in a second. Hey, welcome back to the other side, guys. So I wanted to bring up the next conversation of, like, how do we fix things? And inevitably, we have to talk about the two communities that are at the most at odds between racism in America. Like, let's put it, like, it did not make Michael cringe, but we'll talk about the race relations between blacks and whites here. How do we fix both communities? Let's look at it from that perspective. How do we fix both communities? And for me personally, I think it's the white liberals that are causing the most trouble. Like, a lot of people now, like, we're not this, like, the right isn't the same as it was back in the 90s, right? We're not the evangelical, like, crazy Bible thumping, throw things at you if you, like, blaspheme or whatever. So, like, there's a massive change in that. So, like, obviously from Thomas's perspective, we need to recognize that racism is there and that we need to get to a place where we can understand each other better. I think I can totally agree with that. Michael, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
Oh, man, that's so much to take in. But first off, I don't believe in the term racism, for one.
Right.
Like I said, I believe that we're all one race, and the human race, and the word racism was created. It was made up in 1957 to shut people down, silence people. The minute you have something that goes against anything black, you're racist.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I just don't agree with the fuck you said. Oh, you're an Uncle Tom, or you're this or that, or this or that. So the term racism is bullshit, man. It's just, it was a term thrown out there to silence people, man. That's a fact, 100%. And
We see that a lot. We see that a lot today with the left in cancel culture. So
Yep.
like, if you're not the right type of black person, then you're
Yep.
automatically an enemy. You're not an ally anymore. You don't even get to reserve your black card anymore. You're just gone. You're right. You're
I didn't even know a black card existed. I was like, when the fuck did that shit come out?
Right.
You know,
it's a white person thing. White people invented the black card. So
yeah,
okay.
White people created the term black card. White people created the term coon. White people created the term Uncle Tom. White people created all this shit, and these niggas are out here throwing this shit out here.
Right.
So,
yeah. So
okay, Thomas, go ahead.
I'm gonna kind of counteract this. You know, I believe that white liberals have a lot of things to do, but I could not ignore the fact that there are a lot of conservatives who still, believe the conservatives or the Confederacy should have happened. They still believe that these things. I was raised with that. So I mean, so racism to me is something that I've seen, and I understand your word where you think racism was created as a way to silence people. And that's really interesting because I think race was created, yes, to separate humanity, right? It's like it was created to separate humanity in a way that can justify people doing certain things to different people. It was created that way. And racism is like created in a way that I don't think it was meant to shut people down. I think the fact that the word exists, we have to acknowledge that it exists. It's like not acknowledging the word, like, any word doesn't exist. It's an issue that we have to deal with as a country. This is something that we have to deal with.
Okay. So before it goes off the rails, because Michael's about to blow his top here. Okay. So how do we? Then how do we?
So let me talk about solutions. Okay.
Let's talk about solutions.
All right.
So
I get your passion. I don't think you really understand how much I relate with what you're feeling right now. You know what I mean? And that's like kind of like frustrating in a new way for me, to be honest. But it's just I have, like I went to Selma, Alabama, right? I went to Selma, Alabama. I did this whole nonviolence training, training of the sense of where we're training ourselves in the principles of Martin Luther King, so that when we do protests and stuff like that, we're not doing it aggressively. We're doing it creatively with the intent of building connections with people we disagree with, rather than humiliating them and like shoving them down and winning the argument. Okay.
Right.
And so in this community, I saw a lot of things that really, irked me, like really deep poverty. All right. Really deep poverty. And it was right on the boundary of race lines. And I don't know if that's coincidence that one side of town is just all black and poor. Literally.
All right, so who is in charge of that city?
So I don't know.
Democrat or Republican?
I really don't know. I have to double
probably
check.
Democrat. Yeah, I guarantee.
Yeah, I'm not trying to. To be honest, I do not like Democrats, and I do not like. I'm not.
No, I'm just saying.
You know what I mean? Like
that's why people like us should just be libertarians, freedom all the time.
29 are libertarians.
Yeah,
so I'm a libertarian. Coy's a libertarian. I'm a little more right-leaning libertarian. But I guarantee that little neighborhood town you was in was Democratic ran.
And I know there's corruption within the Democratic Party.
Oh, yeah.
My whole thing is like, I think we need to be more politically active so that we can make the changes we want to see within our government, so it represents us better as people, as general people.
And I think I can agree with that. Like getting rid of 100%, getting rid of the political monopolies that we have, so we can have better representation. And that's the only way we can do it is to get rid of the Democrat and Republican Party. To get rid of that. duopoly.
And the problem is the politics, right? Is that we tie our identity in it, right? So I see Trump, and I'm not going to shame anyone for voting for Trump or anything. That's not my place. You know what I mean? But like, I see certain things he does, and I am like, okay, I can't be represented by that guy. You know what I mean? I can't be represented. So what are my choices?
Yeah.
Obviously
not Joe Biden. Nobody likes him.
No. I got to go back. Go back.
Go ahead.
What did he do that you saw? What did he do?
You're gonna ask this question.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. I'm gonna ask this question because I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did he do
So Trump, for one, I don't really agree with his appointments into the government. So like Stephen Miller, right? I don't agree with Stephen Miller's politics, and I don't agree that he should be in the position he is in. Okay. So like his appointments, I do not agree with, and like his dedication to, I mean, I'm a spiritual person. I do believe though in separation of church and state.
Not in the Constitution, though. It's not in the Constitution.
It's literally not. It was just a pamphlet from Thomas Pedersen. But anyway.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I don't believe that. I like that. Okay. I agree with that as a freedom person.
The big problem now that we have is the identitarian left that are creating their own non-theistic religion that has original sin. That if you go against the ideology, then you are a blasphemer. It is like you're gone.
Okay.
You have sinned against the Church of Diversity. You will be smited. You will be smited.
You guys are so fun. So with Trump,
number two.
So Trump, and I don't like his rhetoric. I don't like his
I don't like the way he talks either.
Okay, rhetoric. So
and then the protest happened. With Charlottesville. I didn't really like how he reacted to that.
Okay, how did he react? This is real talk. Like how?
Like people on both sides were good. I didn't like that statement. So definitely
you don't think there were people on the other side that were like, "Hey, we want our monuments to stay"? Do you think everyone on the other side was a neo-Nazi racist?
I don't think it was the appropriate thing to say.
I mean, I can see your point there. Like, no president is perfect with their reactions.
Barack Obama's statement about freaking Trayvon Martin about if that was my son, was that appropriate?
Sorry, I don't actually recall that speech. So I literally have to do more research on this.
All right. So
okay, I
did more research on this, but
I'm just
I want to kind of tie into solutions. But I just like with Trump in general. Mm-hmm. It's mostly his appointments that I disagree with, and his rhetoric.
Yeah, which is a policy position,
and that is an opinion of mine. So, like his tweets, all that stuff.
I get it. His tweets, everyone says that.
I know, but just because everyone says it and it's a cliche does not make it any less than. It actually probably gives it more than. Because cliches are something that happens so much that we kind of ignore them, right? They're kind of obvious things, right? And so like someone's complaining about like his tweets all the time, it's usually a problem. But since it's happening all the time, since it's repeated all the time, we're like, oh, that argument's old, but no one's really addressed it.
Yeah.
Trump he's been around for a long time, dude. He's not like some guy. He's been on Oprah's show. Oprah even asked him one day if he wanted to run for president. Trump said, no, I don't really want to run for president back in the 1980s.
He's actually said he wanted to run for president.
No, he said, I would never run for president, but he said, if I did, I would do this.
I would be
that's just semantic. I think we're getting off topic of Trump. Like, I don't want to talk about Trump. This is not about Trump anymore.
I want to go back.
Okay.
I want to go back.
Okay.
To Trump's rhetoric. What rhetoric are we talking about? That and here's the thing: a lot of us conservatives want to know, like, what rhetoric is he saying? What is he saying that is so dangerous, is so bad to the country? What is he saying?
So let me explain. Let me just kind of give like a thorough explanation. Okay. So, we as a country, we've kind of put a lot of power in the executive branch.
Okay.
Through the ages, we've given more and more power to the executive, to the president, as being kind of a representation. And we've kind of all been, and I mean, this is the conservatives don't like this. And this is why Trump's probably rise to fame came. But we've been kind of becoming more on a global community, right? And so, definitely liberals, but also moderates, like, want to kind of hold face. They want to kind of be represented in a way, because that's the president's job, to represent the American people. And if you have a president up there that doesn't speak in your way, you're going to get people mad. That just seems to be common sense to me.
Well, I mean, that's why this is the reason this is happening. Like, let me bring it back to get rid of.
I'm gonna let you finish.
I'm gonna let you finish.
So, do you think Obama spoke the way I wanted him to speak?
No, I don't. I don't. I literally.
Your statement, you said that a president should speak.
Should
speak the way the American people want him to speak. So do you think Obama's speaking the way I wanted him to speak?
Yeah, but he spoke in a way other Americans wanted him to speak.
Oh, okay. So
I mean,
okay, hold on. I'm gonna.
One second. Let me just respond to that.
Okay.
So I believe we're all individuals here in this society, right? You know, I believe like we're not going to be homogenous people. We're not going to believe all the same things. We want different things from our government, right? And that's the point, right?
Yeah.
You know, electoral college, I think is bullshit, right? You know, I think a lot of things like that, I don't really dig it as much, you know.
There are reasons for it, but I'm gonna get away from that for a second, and I'm gonna explain this. So here's the thing: is like
I would love
Trump,
to talk to you more about that, though.
Yeah.
You know,
Trump is a symptom of what's been happening, right? So like back to what Thomas was saying is that people want a president that speaks for them. That's why more moderates were the thing that would usually get you the election, right? Like that's what you wanted in the office, was somebody that was a moderate, not an extremist. So with Obama's appointment and then also Trump's appointment, we have had two separate extremes, and that's why people are upset, is because there's not been a true moderate to be in there that could be for both sides, and that's what we really need right now is a moderate, right?
Yeah,
not an extremist.
At the end of the day, that's probably true. But I would argue, you know, I've read books by Obama, and I would consider him a moderate compared to, like, you know, someone like Bernie Sanders or someone like, you know, Alexander Cortez, you know.
But that's how far the left has moved, though. That's the problem. It's like that's how extreme it's gotten.
Obama's 100% a Marxist, man. You gotta look at it like his background. If you ever actually did research on Obama, screw his books.
Yeah.
You know, someone wrote those books for him. But I'm talking about, look at Obama's background. He is 100% a fucking Marxist.
All right.
He is a socialist, communist, fucking Marxist. Facts.
There we go. So how about this? Next episode we do, we'll specifically talk about all this, because
this has gone off the rails for me. Like,
I would love to talk more about all this stuff. And like, you know,
okay, I'm gonna as the moderator here, I'm gonna steer the conversation. Yeah, the conversation originally was supposed to be about solutions and not like why Trump sucks. So the point is, for me, like I stayed up over the last week thinking about this and like how would you fix the communities that are suffering the most, and obviously the Black community is one of those ones that have suffered the most under the current situations, from, you know, slavery to the civil rights movement. But here's the thing: is like there's things that we can do to fix. In my opinion, we can fix, right? And obviously, with you talking about redlining, is that we have to get rid of break up these sections where it's just completely like poor minority communities and that's why school choice is such an important thing. And that's why I don't understand why Democrats won't get behind school choice as a way of getting people out of jail and getting them out of the system. Is like, if you want to lift up a community, you have to give them the knowledge to lift them out. Michael's doing his thing. So like for me, like I think that should be a bipartisan solution, should it not be? Like school choice, getting people out of cuffs and putting them in suits. Like that's what we should be doing.
So explain school choice to me.
School choice is being, so right now how schools are set up is that you are locked in to a school depending on where your district is, right? So if you live in a poor community, you have to go to that poor school, right? Even if it's failing, even if it has shitty teachers, you still have to go to that school. School choice allows you to go to the school of your choice. If there's a better school in another district that has better teachers, better situations, you can send your children there, and that should be it. Or at least talking to getting vouchers for people to go to private institutions like they would for like tuition assistance and other things like that. Those are things we can talk about that would help the communities more so than abolishing the police or defunding the police. Like, why aren't we talking about solutions like that, of like fixing the community problems where they feel like they are trapped?
This is going to be good. Let's see.
So like, so I'm bringing up the subject, but like let's talk about getting people out of handcuffs.
Let's go. I want to hear this.
Getting them out of handcuffs and putting them in suits, man. That's what we should be doing.
I agree. I mean, it's true. Education needs to be changed. It needs to be reformed. All that is true. You know, how do we get these people to those schools? So there's discussion discussions we should have too. Education in general should be changed. The problem is that, most of our people, right? Like Michael here, who doesn't believe in racism, right? You don't believe in racism, right? Yeah, exactly. And so that's I think one of the main issues, right? Straight up, because a lot of people are wanting policy, like the protests you're seeing right now. They're wanting policies that address. I know.
Yeah. Riots and protests. What do you want to call
them? We will
okay.
talk. We're gonna talk about that later. Okay. So
they're not right.
I'm gonna call them protests because I've been a part of them and I've seen them and I've been there and I haven't seen any riots. Okay, and okay, we'll just talk about that later. Okay. But my point, right, is that we need to address. There's two routes. People who are protesting feel like they want to address systemic racism dead on.
White.
Okay.
White people.
I disagree with that really heavily.
A lot of people out there protesting. It's true.
Oh, it's true. But the people that are the constant theme with the white community at these protests are let's elevate black voices. Yeah, I mean straight up.
Yes.
Except for Nancy Pelosi, who wants to be front and center with a freaking kente cloth and kneeling.
I'm not talking about the Democrats that are up in the White House right now. That was
God.
Yes. I need you. Please help me.
No, but like the point is, like I went to a protest. There's mostly people of color there, and like they were just the ones talking. I didn't hear any white people talking. But my point is that there's two routes, right? One is systemic racism, and one is kind of like police reform, education reform, all these things that are on top of that.
Yeah.
It's just that, a lot of people who are against kind of these movements and stuff, they don't believe systemic racism is real. And so they want to ignore that and just deal with the outside, the top. Like it's like a root, it's like a weed, and we want to pull it by the root. Other people just want to trim the weed, want to make it look better.
Right.
It comes down to if you want these people who have different cultures and different backgrounds to assimilate into the mainstream culture, which is based in racism, or if you want them to be segregated and forced into some completely different thing, or do you want to fight racism?
So what is the mainstream culture?
I mean, that is what we all pay taxes
for.
No,
not what we all pay taxes for. What do you consider mainstream?
Oh, that's a difficult thing because like we have the leftist mainstream that's taking over.
So mainstream is different from my version.
Yeah, right. So the mainstream, in my opinion, is both views, right? So the left and the right and the combination between, right? The messiness that comes with a democracy, with freedom, Right. And so the mainstream society is that. But you have to understand the systems that we do have in place had the idea of slavery as its root, like that's how we got capital in the beginning. We had to reshift everything because that's why there was literally a war fought over this. I mean,
the war wasn't fought over slavery. It wasn't.
It was honestly like they could give two shits about like the slaves at the point. It was about political power and keeping positions. That's all it ever was.
Give a shit about the slaves. Even Abe Lincoln even said it. He never gave two shits about the fucking slaves. If it was up to him, he would have.
It was a political maneuver. Not to dismiss everything that Lincoln did. I'm just saying is like it was all political gamble to reunite the United States. And there's even the attributive quote to him saying that if he wouldn't free a single slave if it meant he could keep the Union together. But we knew that wasn't the case. There was just too much economic strife between the two of those because they wanted to keep their forms of economics versus what was in the North at the time. And it was all about keeping the Union together. Had nothing to do with the freeing of slaves.
But their form of economics was based in slaves.
But it was based in slavery, but that was not the reason the war was fought. It was not to keep them that way. It was to keep their position of power the same, like is to keep their version.
Nothing to do with slavery.
Okay. So let's say you're correct in that assessment.
Yeah. We are.
Okay.
100% correct.
I mean,
I'll push back later on that.
Right.
But but let's say you are correct in that assessment. then would you agree? Then what if that didn't happen? Right? Would we still be in slavery to this day? Would we have evolved as
it would have eventually gone away because there would have been what we saw in the Dominican Republic. What would have happened in the South? There would have been a slave uprising, and the whole South would have been controlled, or at least a portion of it would have been controlled by slaves. Or former slaves, let's say. Yep. Like, so if things work themselves out eventually, it just depends on how long it takes, right? Well, so we have examples of slave uprisings over the millennia of things happening like that. So I think even if the Confederacy did win, right, or they did maintain what they had, they would have lost it eventually. They could not have competed with the North at the time with the industrialization. It would have fallen eventually.
Trains and shit and freaking all this other shit. But look at Libya right now. There's not one black person in America talking about Libya right now, when Libya, these fucking Muslims are out here fucking doing the slave trade right now.
Yeah, $500 a person.
There ain't one pro-black out there talking about that shit. Not one.
It's because we're not focused on that right now.
We're not focused on that because we're focused on the bullshit that's happening in America.
Well, it's
1%, 0.1% of a black person gets killed by a cop. But yet you have black people out here enslaved in Libya right now, getting sold, old school slave trade.
And that's somewhere else, right?
It's somewhere else, but
aren't you for America first?
Yeah, I'm America first, but aren't black Americans talking about?
Yeah, but wait a second. Like, I thought the whole side of the conservative argument was that we want to keep everything within our country. America first.
No, and you're right. I thought the whole fight with the liberal movement was black empowerment.
So
black lives. I think he's speaking to the hypocrisy of it.
No, there's hypocrisy.
So hypocrisy. Black Lives Matter, for one, right? That movement that you're talking about. Black Lives Matter movement was a movement that is meant to kind of address the systemic racism that happened in this country.
What's systemic racism?
Policies that have been made, redlining, things that are still.
I'm a black man. I grew up in this country for my whole life. My family, my uncles, my grandfathers, everyone. No one's ever.
So. What I would ask you to do, I would go research. I would go out and ask people what their experiences have been. Like I
don't care about their experiences.
Well, see, and that's a point that where we can't.
I don't care.
I care about the people.
I really don't care because it doesn't affect me.
Yeah,
I'm a black man who lives my life. And my life is the only thing that matters. My son's life is all that matters to me. My family's life is all that matters to me. Whatever happened to freaking little Nuck in Chicago, I don't care.
Well,
black people start focusing on themselves and start saying, hey, I'm going to build my life. I'm going to build my kids. I'm going to build my structure to make better black people within my circle. I don't care what this dude is doing over here. It has nothing to do with me. We need to focus on ourselves and our life and our house.
And I agree with that. I agree with focusing on ourselves. I agree with growing ourselves, like being self-sufficient, building development, having accountability for your life, not being a victim. I agree with all those things, but some people don't have that fortune. They weren't raised in that kind of environment. And I know you don't care. You don't care, and that's clear. That's clear. Yeah. That's fine. So my argument has no legs because I do care. I do care, and so I'm not going to argue.
It's hard to find that common ground in that.
You're willing. So you care to the point. So you say you care. So do you care to the point to where you're willing to give up your whole livelihood, your house, everything that you have, to someone else that doesn't have it? You're willing to give that up.
So I don't know if you know my history, but I was actually homeless for a while. I lived in the woods. I had a tent. I just lived off the land, right? And so I kind of was just living in the woods. But one dude came in and he didn't have a tent. And it was raining, and I felt bad, and I gave him my tent. And I mean, that may be stupid, and sure, but I cared for that man because he was in a worse situation than me. And so I was like, I had the opportunity. I already had the camps. I already had everything set up, and I gave it to him. And so I don't own much. You know what I mean? I don't have a home. You know what I mean? I rent. I don't own property. So if you're asking me if I would give something that I don't have, then we that's a different discussion.
Okay. So would you though?
But But
I think to his point, it probably would with the situation.
I mean, but in reality, for one, you do have to take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, how can you help other people? Right?
Yeah, that's true. I think we can all agree with that.
Just like your argument, you know. So I believe that yes, you need to take care of yourself, but humanity is a social creature. You know, we have communities. You know, and the thing is with this is that it's complicated because we have a lot of diversity in this community. You know, so we're having to figure this out based on a lot of weird social contracts that we've made. So it's messy.
I think that's where a lot of like people like us, we can find common ground, is that we need to focus on ourselves first in order to help others. And like that's a conservative point, though, is that focusing on your family, taking care of your family, and then you can help others around you. You know, you gotta get the oxygen mask first on you before you get to the other person or to everybody else. And that's
I don't like how that has been politicized.
Yeah,
I don't like it because
family shouldn't be politicized.
There's people like, you know, I think of like, you guys know David Goggins, right?
Yeah.
You know, David Goggins. Yeah, I love David Goggins, but at the same time, I like what's his name? Oh man, I just blanked on his name. The arrow guy, the guy who shoots the arrows. What's his name?
I don't know. I'm blanking on that one.
Okay.
I mean, I mentioned Jordan Peterson's book to you. The other week.
Jordan Peterson. Same kind of hanging out with those people, right? But they all have the similar method of bettering themselves, being their own personal greatness, right?
Yeah.
That is something that is not, in my opinion, initially like political. I think that is something because David Goggins, if you talk to him, you read his book, he talks about a lot of racist things that have happened to him. He brings up race quite a bit. And so I think this concept of forcing yourself to personal greatness is something that we all can kind of get behind, right? You know, and then, you know, I talk to myself and, you know, what does it hurt to listen and care? You know what I mean? I'm not saying give away everything. I'm saying why not just give enough just to understand and just to listen and just see what happens. You know, you may totally disagree and that's fine, but like listening to another side of an argument is really important to understanding what is perceived as truth, right?
So that's definitely something we need more of, in my opinion.
I mean, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
I've been listening for a long time, and I have a lot of my mom is a liberal. My sisters, you know, my whole family, they're all leftists. And so at some point, I'm like, okay, we did this. What do you want now? Well, we want this. They did this. So what do you want now? Well, now we want this.
Yeah.
Now we want this, and now we want this. So where does it fucking end?
See, I think there needs to be people like you in this conversation, though. That's what I'm trying to say. Is that you have something very unique to offer, and like, sure, there's a lot of people that would push back because everyone is, like I told you before, everyone wants simple and easy. You know, being on this podcast is not easy.
No.
I love you guys. You know, I love talking to you. You know, I mean, and that's just me. I love talking about politics and people who disagree with me because I find more fulfillment in that. Yeah. You know, because guess what? We live in a democracy, people. There's supposed to be arguments. There's supposed to be disagreements.
I totally agree with that.
and so, you know,
we live in a republic, but go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
We do.
I'm not going to argue with that. Yeah. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to argue with that at all. But my point, right, is that I'm excited to see that, like, you know, we're here now. You know what I mean? We're having this conversation. I think that really needs to happen here.
Yeah, you know, I agree with you.
You're right.
And so, like, regarding solutions, you know, I think we're not going to find a straight up answer to this. You know, obviously we can agree on compromises like police reform, right? Yeah. We can on some level of that, like maybe like a national standard or something, you know, of kind of, you know, being able to hold accountability to police officers who kind of just act aggressively. You know, I mean, even the Hodge twins agree with that. You know,
there was a lot of things that could have come out of this movement that ended up being divisive instead of focusing on police reform. I think it would have been better off that way.
I understand because there's a big movement on the left and in like the racial communities that are like, we're tired of all this work and we want results. We channel your frustration with like, I've listened to you hard enough. You want this now, you want this now, you want this now. You know, that frustration is real, but we've taken a different approach to it. That's it. You know, we didn't just focus on our community, our families, and our communities. We did a little bit of that, but we also are like, we need to fight for this. We need to go out there and protest. We need to, so we have a different way of channeling that same frustration. Okay. And so, I think there is definitely middle ground that can be accomplished. And I think a lot of people on the left are misunderstood because of a very divisive, bold statement. It's like defund the police, right? They're not talking about defunding the police people. They're not really talking about. They're talking about using those resources to put into like different types of mental health. Santa Cruz already does that. Where I live, we already do that. We already have like a mental health liaison, and we have all these crazy things. And there's still people here telling us to defund the police. And I'm not. And that's that. And so, what I'm trying to say is that having these conversations are important, and I really appreciate you guys having me on to kind of discuss this,
And we'll have to come back and do this more because there's we're not going to be able to cover everything I wanted to in this episode, and it's already go ahead, Mike.
And I don't want to cut Coy out, but it's very rare that we have someone out our own little echo chamber that comes in with a point of view, and that's what we want, because we used to have one, Megan. She was a leftist, liberal, lesbian, and she brought a different point of view.
So, it definitely kept us in check for sure.
So him and I used to be in there like, this is what we believe in. She come in and be like, wait a minute. So here's what I
hold up.
It's good that we get people like you that are on the left, especially a person of color that's opposite of me.
Yeah.
And Coy was like, dude, you guys are gonna fucking go toe to toe.
It's gonna be fun. We're gonna see this.
So what I do, I literally respect everyone's point of view.
Yeah.
Do I have to believe in it? No, I don't. Do I respect it? Yes, I respect it. I respect you as a human being. I respect you as a man.
Yeah. I think that's definitely what's missing today.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't have respect for each other.
And I think that's the point. I definitely do have socialist, like Bernie Sanders, like thoughts. I'm sorry, I know, and we're gonna get there. But I know right when you made that lovely speech. But my point, I know, and that's why I'm here though. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Though. Because I know. But my thoughts are that we need to continue this tension in these conversations,
Right. As he's holding the hammer. Okay, I think this is a good point to leave it off for this week. It's getting late. I got mine. I haven't got mine yet, so I'll get it. Get it eventually.
That's cool. Hey, we gotta have him back on, dude.
No. Thomas, I want to thank you for coming on.
This.
Yeah, it's great.
I love
it's good stuff.
Points of views, dude.
Yeah, and it gives me a chance to do more research and articulate things as well. So I really appreciate you guys.
Growth is always the important thing.
Yeah, well, add me on Facebook or something. You're gonna hate all my posts, but
I really don't. So I changed up on my Facebook, and Coy knows I've gotten away from saying political shit on my personal page.
But he has his professional page.
Yeah, I have my public page called the Diesel Grunt 1776. So that's where you'll probably cringe and have a stroke watching some of my.
Bringing it back to the end of the show, Thomas, where can everybody find your stuff? So if they want to listen to you more and check out your stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on any platform. I'm on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. And it's Speak for Change Podcast. And we have a lot of guests in. And you can find me on Instagram, Speak for Change Podcast at Instagram, Facebook, Speak for Change Podcasts on Facebook, everywhere. And my blog is Thomas-Pedersen.com. There's actually a really cool blog on there about being raised in a white family, a white conservative family, and as a half black, half white man. So it's probably interesting for this.
I need to be on your podcast. You need to have a black conservative.
I'll interview you. And if you do a speech, go ahead. But it has to be. It has to connect somehow to the mission statement. That's pretty much the. Hey, no, you like the mission statement.
Okay,
it's good.
I'll look at your mission statement.
Yeah.
All right, Michael. go ahead and take us out.
All right, so make sure you guys are following me on the Bro Kitchen. I just cooked a dope ass meal. What was that? Thursday. So I made a smothered chicken with some garlic Parmesan fries. Posted on the Bro Kitchen. Also, make sure you guys are on my fucking TikTok, the Bro Kitchen Guy. I've gained over 3,000 followers in 3 days. So
Nice.
make sure you guys are constantly following me on TikTok, the Bro Kitchen Guy. And it's not political at all. Everything's just comedy and
Memes.
cooking. I
Lots of
just do memes. Koi sends me. So Koi will send me some memes and stuff, and I'll post it. And one of his memes got actually it's like 70-something thousand fucking likes right now.
Nice.
So it's one of the marine one with the drill sergeants and stuff. So they're all liking that. So also follow me on Facebook at the Grizzle Grunt. Grizzle_Grunt 1776. That's my political page, and that's where I post all my politics because I try to get away from my personal page. And the Savage Patriots, we're trying to rebrand that.
Yeah.
And the Hooch.
And
the Hooch podcast. Obviously. We've been around since 2016.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a while, but as always, you can follow us on Facebook.com/The Hooch Podcast, as well as Anchor.fm/The Hooch. Find all our episodes there. It'll take you to links to Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, all the places, YouTube
and YouTube.
And YouTube as well. We put a video version of this episode on there, as well as our Facebook page. So you can find
Twitter too. We're on Twitter.
We're on Twitter, but I don't do Twitter as much as
I'm on Twitter. I try to manage the page, but it's too much. It's
I hate
too
Twitter.
much to fucking handle.
Twitter is a terrible place.
Hard Twitter. Twitter's
hard.
And hopefully I'm going to talk coin and starting a fucking TikTok page for the Hooch. So
yeah, we should definitely do that.
We definitely have to do it.
I like that eye roll there.
Yeah.
His eyes look like, oh, fuck.
It's
from 800 followers last month. I'm at like 8,000 something.
I know from a podcast platform we should be on it because you're supposed to be on everything, but it's still one of those that just takes all the energy out of me. I'm on Facebook all the time. That's my thing.
No, just I can create another page just like
I'll
Twitter,
let you do it. You got it.
And I just need you to send me clips of the podcast and pictures of us doing whatever random shit.
Yeah.
But we'll do it.
All right, guys. Well, anyway, that's it for this week. I want to thank Thomas again for coming on, and Michael for keeping it lively with his opinions and views. Anyway, we love you, America, and we'll see you next time.
I can't wait to have him back on. We're
out.
We're
gonna get that eventually, one of these days.
According to your Facebook page, we aren't friends.